Tonight on CTV, a very important package was stolen. Find out what the Colorado community is doing to get this man's father's ashes back to him.
And this CSU memorabilia isn't what you'd expect.
Probably top 10 unusual things we sold. Definitely the one that got the most interest.
Plus, this 12-year-old built a model of the water cycle using only Legos. We'll tell you more tonight on CTV. Good evening, Rams. I'm Marla Lundak.
And I'm Ryan Christ. Remember Travis Kaufman, the man who killed the mountain lion, a.k.a. the King of the North? Well, the final autopsy report of the mountain lion was released this week, and apparently the cat was a 3 or 4 month old male. The Colorado Parks and Wildlife veterinarians say the lion was a healthy kitten and probably weighed 40 pounds. Officials safely relocated 2 young mountain lions away from the trails and parks and say they were both healthy and just a little hungry.
Colorado residents and police are searching for a stolen package. Why? Because Austin Barker didn't just lose his father to cancer, he also lost his father's ashes to a porch pirate. Janae Hancock has more. Janae?
I am here live, not too far from campus, where a package with ashes inside of it has been believed to be stolen right from someone's door.
Is this my fault? Whose fault is this? Who could do this? What am I going to do now?
A year after reconnecting, Austin Barker lost his father to stage 4 cancer.
Everything from sadness to anger to confusion, just all over the board of emotions on a day-to-day basis from the beginning of my day to the very end is just wrapped around this situation.
In hopes of being reunited once again, Barker believes his dad's ashes were stolen from his front porch.
Perfect storm of not being around when it's delivered. So I imagine the package was sitting on my porch for maybe 3 days, or at least 3 or 4 days while I was gone when the package was delivered.
The U.S. Postal Service told him the carrier did in fact deliver the package to his house. And the USPS website lists their delivery service procedures unless instructed otherwise.
It wasn't posted that there was anything inside of it of that sort of meaning. When I did talk to a couple of the people at the post office, they said indeed that if it was marked in a certain way that they would have dealt with it a little bit differently.
Barker now has a sign that brings attention and a Craigslist page that offers $500 to whoever returns the package.
If you've done something wrong and if you've stolen from another person, just realize that it's harmful and it hurts more than you would ever think. And stealing a laptop off a porch can hurt just as bad as stealing someone's ashes. Just be mindful of what you're doing to other people.
Austin has heard from people who have seen his sign and heard about his story. However, still no one has retrieved his package. He wants anyone who can help to please do so. This is Janae Hancock reporting with CTV.
Thanks, Janae. I know we're all hoping Barker gets that package soon.
This story isn't about dollar bills, it's about Colorado bills. Today, the House Energy and Environment Committee postponed a bill that would keep restaurants from giving out plastic straws unless specifically asked. And for all of those who vape and juul, a bill to ban vaping in no smoking areas cleared its first hearing this morning, and how the Colorado House of Representatives will debate whether e-cigarettes will be added to the Colorado Clean Indoor Air Act.
If you're a handy person and you love CSU memorabilia, then this local building supplies and home improvement store might just have the most perfectly strange item for you.
Uncle Benny's Building Supplies in Loveland is a family-owned business open for nearly 25 years.
I started here when I was young, like 12 years old, so kind of grew up into this.
Uncle Benny's is in the business of buying, selling, and trading new and used building materials, antiques, and oddities. Over the years, this supply yard has seen its fair share of strange items.
Probably top 10 unusual things we sold. Definitely the one that got the most interest from everybody for some reason.
Those unusual items he's talking about?
This is our toilets and sinks and everything.
Urinals.
So there's the last 2 we have.
But not just any urinals. Urinals from Hughes Stadium.
Famous or infamous. Some of the things that came up in trade were these urinals. And so I thought, well, that'd be kind of cool to have some of the urinals. We haven't seen them often. So anyway, we struck a deal for 3 urinals in trade for shingles, partial trade for shingles. And that's where this whole thing started.
After posting about their unusual items on their Facebook page, it blew up. The 3 urinals sold almost instantly. Luckily, they were able to get 3 more for eager customers. Uncle Benny's building supply yard originally had 6 of these cast iron trough urinals from the historic Hughes Stadium. Now you may be wondering what these urinals can be used for, but they can be repurposed in a variety of ways.
Sink or kitchen sink or something like that. Maybe for icing down beer or flower planter, maybe like a flower planter or something like that. That's the fun part about the business. We put it out there for sale and then people figure it out. Like they come up with ideas.
They say that one man's trash is another man's treasure. But here, one stadium's urinal is another man's strange piece of CSU history.
If you do decide to purchase one of these last remaining urinals, don't forget to disinfect it first.
Now imagine this. You're reading through articles on your computer trying to find something to source in your essay, but then you run out of free articles. It's a nightmare. But the Associated Students of CSU are trying to make the New York Times available to students online so that inconvenience won't happen anymore. According to the resolution introduced in last night's Senate session, no extra money will be spent on the online subscription than is already being used for the print publication. ASCSU also discussed who should be responsible for negotiating contracts with Rocky Mountain Student Media, CTV's parent company. In past years, the newly elected president does, but some believe it should be up to the previous president. Both resolutions were...
That's the way we've always done it. The contract kind of goes up over the summer, so it makes sense to have the person who would live with the contract do it. And since they're the ones writing the budget anyway, if the collegian wants an increase, since they're the ones writing the budget, they would have to talk to them anyway. So.
Both resolutions were turned over to committees for further discussion. Check back next week for further updates.
The city of Fort Collins could decide whether or not to take the topless ban targeting women to the Supreme Court by the end of March. The Coloradoan reported that Fort Collins City Council spent about an hour with city attorneys in a private executive session on Tuesday. After returning to a public setting, the council directed its attorneys to further evaluate the city's options in the case and bring them forward by March 26th in another private meeting. The Federal 10th Circuit Court of Appeals ruled on February 15th that the city's ban on women going topless is unconstitutional. The city's ordinance prohibited women from knowingly showing their breasts in public, with certain exceptions like breastfeeding. The city has spent about $71,000 defending the ordinance.
Remember when Legos used to be simple? A set was originally about 100 pieces and it would only take an hour to build. But have you seen Legos now? They are way more complicated. But for this father and son, Legos are their ecological passion.
12-year-old Silas Mailer and his dad, Steve, used more than 100,000 pieces to build a project they hope illustrates an important issue in Colorado: how we use our precious water.
We started with an overall drawing of what we wanted. We actually just started with the mountains because we wanted to be sure that we had enough elevation for the balls to roll with the help of gravity.
Well, so both my wife and I work in the water industry, and so that was a natural thing. And I had an idea that maybe we could use it for education somehow.
Along with building the structure and wiring the electric motors so the display is in constant motion, Silas and his dad also had to figure out how to support the structure. Like the Lego mountain they estimated weighs 60 pounds.
We had to do the math to get an exact Pythagorean triangle, which is a squared plus b squared equals c squared. My dad helped a little bit with that math. After that, it was all me.
This display is extremely detailed, and Silas explains it best.
You know what a partial flume is?
I don't.
This is a partial flume. It compacts water into a certain way where they can measure the exact amount of water that is running through there at a certain time.
While the project will continue to evolve, even getting its own website, for Silas and his dad, their greatest takeaway are the memories they created. Just a dad and son playing with Legos.
Silas was kind enough to join us in the studio tonight to discuss his passion. Silas, what do you have brought here tonight?
I have here with me my inspiration for my project. This is a great ball contraption. Usually there would be more than one lined up in a circle, and they would use these tiny plastic balls to move the balls throughout the machines and go all the way through the circuit.
Nice. Do you want to turn it on and show us how it works?
Wow.
Yes, I turned it on.
Wow. Uh-oh.
Skate ball.
And when did you say you built this?
I built this about a year and a half ago.
Wow.
How long did this little part take you?
This little part was especially tricky because of the gearing, and some of the pieces were especially hard to find. So this one model itself took me about 10 days.
Wow.
I think it would take me a lot longer.
Yeah, no kidding, especially without an instruction manual.
Yeah.
And you said this type of kind of motorized tech is kind of what we saw in the bigger model that you have at your dad's office, right?
Yes.
So how did that work when you were trying to build and piece together that?
We started with an overall drawing. We wanted it to have mountains, a city, a farm, and so we started from there. We started building in the mountains because we wanted to be sure to have enough elevation so that the balls would roll down with gravity. We didn't quite have enough though, so we had to use the help of some machines like this one.
Wow.
Very cool. Wow. Thank you so much for joining us today. We really appreciate you coming over here.
Thanks, Silas. Thanks for coming on. Well, don't go anywhere, Rams, because Litos Castro is going to be coming up next with the snow for this weekend.
Okay, so we drowned the fire, stirred it, drowned it again, and now just feel if it's cold.
Yeah.
Cool.
Smokey just gave me a bear hug.
I know. I already posted it.
How's it going, Rams? Welcome back from the break. I'm Litos Castro here to give you the update of what we should expect in the weather these upcoming days. So, without further ado, let's get rolling right into it. We're going to start off with your current conditions. Right now, it should be feeling a little cold outside, 39 degrees to be specific. It might feel a little bit more chilly than that as far as the wind that we're seeing, about that 6 mile per hour wind towards that northeast side. And if you're out late, you probably saw that sunset at 5:49 in the evening for you. What did we see on campus today? Well, not too much actually. The clouds were kind of covering up most of the sunshine that was trying to break through, but that didn't stop CSU's wonderful students from walking around campus today. And if you watch the Tuesday weather segment with Hannah Willis, you might see some familiar images here, not too much plant life or even life in the trees as well. We're kind of expecting these trends to continue, especially as the temperatures continue to get colder here in Fort Collins. Next, we're going to take a look at tonight's lows. Taking a look at this west side, we see Grand Junction hitting at 34 degrees, and it's going to cool down a little more in 21 in Gunnison. But once we hit the mid-range, we're going to see 30s coming back. 32 Denver, 33 Colorado Springs. And once you hit the east side, it's actually getting a little interesting. We're seeing 23s all across this east side for you, so if you're on that side of the state, it's going to be pretty chilly. When we're taking a look at tomorrow's highs, though, we're going to see some higher temperatures. Taking a look at Grand Junction, we see 51, getting pretty warm over there. Gunnison brings it back down to 34. Once we hit the I-25 corridor, we're going to see even warmer temperatures, 51 in Denver, Colorado Springs, and even 61 in Pueblo. And again, once we hit that east side of the state for you, we're going to see a little bit colder temperatures, 47 Lyman, even low is 38 in Sterling. Next, we're finishing up with, we're moving on to tomorrow's forecast. We're going to see, like I said, those warmer temperatures. 50 degrees is going to be the high and 22 is going to be your low. Should be mostly cloudy, but we're going to see a lot of wind. So you might want to break out that windbreaker so you don't get taken away a little bit too much there. And if you're an early bird, you might expect to see the sun at around 6:33 in the morning. Now we finish up with your 5-day forecast. We're going to see, like I said, that warmer temperature on Friday, but it's going to get cooler as we move into the weekend. And even a big chance of snow on Saturday, hitting that 29 degrees, and even colder on Sunday, 12 degrees. And then we start to warm up as we start the next week on Monday and Tuesday. Well, Jared, we're seeing, like I said, that colder temperature is coming in for the weekend. Should we expect any impact on the weekend sports for the spring that's coming up this weekend?
Oh, yeah, definitely. On Sunday, we already are seeing some impacts with the possibility of it being -4, like you said. Softball games have officially been canceled, and also there's going to be some games with tennis on Sunday as well. Nothing has been confirmed yet, but we can also kind of expect that to come out as well. But with Saturday, though, what do you think? Do you think the baseball team's going to have to sit this one out?
Well, knowing them, there's some pretty tough guys on that team, so I can see them wanting to tough the weather out a little bit. But I think Mother Nature might take the win in this battle here. Plus, if we're going to be the ones covering that game, we're going to need to dress warm. Because if they're going to tough it out, we're going to have to tough it out. And I think we can do it, but it's going to be a rough one.
Yeah, we'll have to bring some hand warmers for that one.
Oh, for sure. All right, Rams, don't go anywhere because when we come back, this handsome gentleman right here is going to bring you all the sports news you need.
They said I couldn't dream. Called me a piece of trash and swore that's all I'd ever be. Said a bottle couldn't see the ocean. Give up. Go back to the dumpster. But I didn't listen. I made my way. And now, I am what I've always wanted to be.
Welcome back from the break, Rams. I am Jared Stratton, here to catch you up on what's going on in the world of CSU athletics. Yesterday, the women's basketball team took on the top-ranked team in the Mountain West, Boise State, with one of the most intense games of the season. Now, this game, Grace Calavalo tried her best to keep the Rams in this game, but she could not hold on, especially after overtime. And that final score from that game was 72-63 in favor of Boise State. Although this was a Rams' 6th straight loss in a row, they were still able to give the top team in their conference a good run for their money. The Rams will have a chance to prove themselves again this Saturday against the New Mexico Lobos, who are in second-place team in the Mountain West. That game will be at 2 in the afternoon at Moby Arena. The men's basketball team also took on Boise State yesterday with a completely different outcome. This game was played in Boise State, with the Rams and the Broncos having the exact same record going into this game. The final score of the game was 76-62 with the Rams on top. This was a Rams' first win at Boise State in almost 30 years. Unlike the rest of the year, the Rams shot lights out on offense, especially when they shot for 70% in the second half. This wasn't just easy layups either. They were shooting 40% from beyond the arc on that day. The Rams also managed to have 5 players in double-digit scoring, which is insane for this Rams team. This was the Rams' 12th win of the season, which officially marks an improvement from last year with their 11-win total. Nico Carvacho is still on pace to shatter the single-season rebound mark for CSU and passed NBA All-Star Kawhi Leonard in double-doubles in Mountain West play. The Rams' next game will be against the New Mexico Lobos, who have a similar record, 11-6. That game will be at New Mexico this Saturday at 8 in the evening. Since today is the last day of Black History Month, Jessica Mendoza spoke to members of the CSU volleyball team about their experiences as black athletes on a majority white team.
14 teammates, 3 coaches, and 1 court bring these women together. With today, February 28th, being the last day of Black History Month, it is important to recognize those who represent the community and the challenges that they still face.
When I started playing club, I noticed that I was more of a minority, but my 16s or 17s year, we had our entire team was majority African American girls, and then coming to college, it was like the switch of that.
A switch that shows just how underrepresented players like Jessica Jackson and Brianna Reynolds are in the NCAA. Only 11% of all NCAA women's volleyball players are African American.
So I've been really blessed to be on really diverse teams and really people who are open-minded, so I haven't really experienced any discrimination.
The women are even more underrepresented at CSU, with only 2.4% of students identifying as African American. However, CSU and the Black African American Cultural Center is always working to make sure that the 2.4% is not being overlooked.
The back office puts on a whole Black History Month events. They do events every couple of days. And last week there was a keynote speaker, Eric Thomas. He came in and talked to us just about being successful and being the best that we can be given the circumstances that we're in.
On the court, Runnels and Jackson have shown their best by leading their team to the NCAA tournament. Runnels tallied a career high of 454 kills, while Jackson appeared in all 31 matches and added 234 kills, all in the 2018 season. But they couldn't have done it on their own.
My mom is definitely someone I look up to. She's definitely a big inspiration. She's very supportive, and she's just always there, to be there for my dreams. I really look up to Kim Badinga. She's been a great role model for me lately as I've been trying to figure out grad school and what I want to do after undergrad. I've been talking to her a lot and trying to figure it out, and she's really just been supportive of me and been there as a mentor.
From those who inspire them to those who find inspiration from Runnels and Jackson, there is nothing that can keep this team from being a family.
And everybody is like my sisters, and I love them like they're my sisters.
Reporting for CTV Sports, I'm Jessica Mendoza.
The volleyball team will be back for their spring season on March 30th. Well, you know what time it is. It's a 1-minute challenge where I fit in as much sports news as possible in all under 1 minute. So let's get that timer started. Let's start with the crazy week in the NFL. Demaryius Thomas is arrested for vehicular assault charges from earlier in February, and Jason Witten is making his NFL comeback with the Cowboys and leaving the Monday Night Football staff. Kyler Murray's measurables came in, and he's 5'10", 207 pounds, which will tremendously help his draft stock. And Jonah Williams wasn't even the top of the bench presses for O-lineman. DK Metcalf is also still looking like a top wide receiver with a 6'3" frame at the combine. In the NBA, Dwayne Wade and LeBron James both called games with their last-second shots. LeBron beat the Pelicans, and D. Wade beat the Warriors. With the Warriors' loss, the Nuggets are now only a half game behind the West after beating the Thunder by 9 points on Tuesday. And in the MLB, Bryce Harper finally signed a deal, and it was worth $330 million over 13 years for the Phillies, making it the biggest deal in MLB history. The contract also consists of no opt-outs, so his contract will end when he's 39 years old. And the NHL, Matt Duchene of the Colorado Avalanche was traded to the Columbus Blue Jackets for draft picks and future prospects. In his debut for the Blue Jackets, he scored 3 points in a win over the Senators. Ooh, I got a little cocky at the end there. That was really fun. Well, that's all the sports I have for tonight, but make sure to check collegian.com or follow us on Twitter on CTV_CTV. I am Jared Stratton, and after the break, Lauren Arcutt brings a look into the new art exhibit dedicated to LGBTQ history. So don't go anywhere.
They told me a bottle couldn't dream. That I would never become a superhero. But I learned how to fly. Just to come back in a new disguise. And be the hero that I've always wanted to be.
I'm Lauren, your entertainment host and guru tonight, here to take you on a stroll down all of the entertainment news that's happening this week. While Rams, CSU may not be big fans of Boulder, but it is time to set aside the rivalry and come together for one purpose: film. The Boulder International Film Festival is making its way to Fort Collins for the first time ever. The lineup includes 4 feature films, 2 short films, and performances by local singer-songwriters. These movies include stories about solo kayaking runs down the Grand Canyon, a love story about a couple renovating a rundown farm, and even the moon and magic Alps. And to make the view of the Poudre River even more beautiful for drivers, the city removed a 2-sided billboard that sat along the river just south of Mulberry Street Bridge. For years, the billboard advertised different products but was mostly focused on Coors beer. And I know what you're thinking, but no, the billboard wasn't torn down because of protests. The lease had ended, so the giant sign was quickly taken down. According to the Coloradoan, the city wanted to honor the previous owners of the land contracts with advertisers. So next time you're driving by the Mulberry Bridge or walking along the Poudre River Trail, you can focus on the historic river and not the tacky ad for Coors beer. In other news, the history of the LGBTQ community is being celebrated at the Gregory Alekar Museum of Art, located in the heart of the University Center for the Arts. This new exhibition specifically looks at the older generations of the LGBTQ community. Director and Chief Curator Lynn Boland explained his excitement about this specific exhibition and the quality of the portraits.
They're absolutely immaculate. They're beautiful. They are made with a very deep understanding of the history of art, of photography, of portraiture. They're very carefully composed.
Photographer Jess T. Dugan and social worker Vanessa Fabre traveled around the U.S. finding subjects who identify as non-conforming, transgender men and women.
The social significance of this issue at this particular moment in our culture is evolution, really. We're at a moment where this really matters.
The museum gravitates towards art that sends a message to its audience.
It's very important to us is not just that we show exhibitions that address important issues. That is an important function of art, and it's an important function of museums. Art can open up conversations, it can shed light on issues in ways that maybe a text or an article or an essay can't.
Through the portraits and personal interviews of the specific age of the LGBTQ community, art-goers and seekers at the museum are able to learn about this shift in historic culture.
50 years from now, when students are trying to understand this transitional moment, this important moment in our culture, we'll also be able to look back at it in a historical way, and they'll serve a different use, really.
To Survive the Shore will be open every day until May 18th from 10 in the morning to 6 in the evening and is free to the community. Well, Rams, it's time for me to critique the artist who rose to the top of this week's Spotify viral trending charts list. The top spot with more than 43 million listens goes to rapper and producer Mustard featuring Migos. Mustard, and yes, that is his rapper name, no, I did not stutter, is a Grammy Award-winning producer, songwriter, DJ, and hype man from Los Angeles. His song Pure Water is about money, women, and fame, so not that deep, but it has a catchy beat and lyrics from Offset, a member of the rap trio Migos. My speculations of part of why Pure Water's success has to do with the collaboration with Offset, whose marriage to Cardi B keeps him in the spotlight. But anyway, Pure Water really isn't my thing. I'm more of a water from the tap kind of girl, you know? Well, it looks like we're out of time this evening. Thank you for spending part of your night with us. Make sure to follow CTV on Twitter at CTV11 and tune into CTV on Monday to find out how the CSU men's basketball team did against the University of Mexico Lobos. Same time, same place, more news from the people you know. Have a good night, Rams.